The cosmic origins of oxygen. Take a deep breath. That oxygen filling your lungs right now, where do you think it came from? Not just from the air around you, not just from the trees outside your window, but where did it begin? Long before Earth existed, long before life took its first fragile steps on this planet, oxygen was already drifting through the cosmos, forged in the fiery hearts of ancient stars. These massive celestial bodies, burning with unimaginable heat, fused lighter elements into heavier ones in their cores. When they reached the end of their lives, they exploded in spectacular supernovae, scattering newly formed oxygen atoms across the universe like cosmic dust in an endless wind. These atoms traveled for millions, perhaps even billions, of years, carried by gravity's invisible hand until they became part of our young planet's atmosphere. But here's the twist. Earth wasn't always friendly to oxygen. For most of its early history, the air was thick with methane and carbon dioxide, a harsh cocktail that would have suffocated any creature dependent on oxygen today. It wasn't until tiny bacteria began harnessing sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars, and releasing oxygen as waste, that the world started changing. At first, this oxygen didn't float freely. It reacted with iron in the oceans, rusting the seafloor layer by layer. Only after eons of slow accumulation did oxygen finally break free, transforming Earth into a place where complex life could thrive. So next time you inhale, remember, you're breathing in stardust, remnants of ancient explosions, molecules that have cycled through planets, oceans, and countless living beings before reaching you. The journey through your lungs. Now that oxygen has made its way to Earth, let's follow it as it enters your body. Take another breath. Feel the cool air passing through your nose or mouth, depending on whether you're a nose breather or a mouth breather, and making its way down your throat. This is no ordinary passage. It's a carefully designed system built to protect you while ensuring every molecule of oxygen reaches its destination. Inside your nasal passages, tiny hairs called cilia wave gently, filtering out dust, pollen, and other unwanted particles. Mucus lines the airways, trapping anything that might cause harm. The air is warmed and humidified as it passes through intricate structures called turbinates, delicate ridges that ensure the air is just right before it travels deeper into your body. If you breathe through your mouth, the process is more direct but less refined. There's no filtration, no warming, just a straight shot into your trachea, or windpipe. From there, the air continues its journey down into your bronchi, the two main tubes leading into each lung. These divide and subdivide like branches of a tree, narrowing into smaller and smaller airways called bronchioles. Eventually, these lead to microscopic sacs known as alveoli, each one wrapped in a dense network of capillaries. Here, something remarkable happens. Oxygen slips effortlessly through the thin walls of the alveoli and into your bloodstream, while carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular activity, moves in the opposite direction, preparing to be exhaled. This exchange isn't random. It follows a simple yet elegant principle called diffusion. Oxygen flows from areas of high concentration, the air in your lungs, to areas of lower concentration, your blood, all without requiring any conscious effort from you. It's a silent, automatic process, one that has been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution. And just how often does this miracle occur? You take about 12 to 20 breaths per minute when at rest, which adds up to over 17,000 breaths a day. In a single year, your lungs will draw in more than 6 million liters of air, all while you go about your daily life, unaware of the incredible exchange happening inside you. But oxygen doesn't stop at your lungs. Once absorbed into your bloodstream, it begins the next leg of its journey, a ride through your circulatory system, carried by red blood cells racing toward every tissue, organ, and cell in your body. And that's where we'll continue next. The oxygen delivery system, red blood cells, and hemoglobin. Oxygen has entered your bloodstream, but it can't travel alone. Unlike nitrogen, which simply dissolves into your plasma, oxygen needs a dedicated transport system to reach the tissues that depend on it. That's where your red blood cells step in, tiny flexible discs packed with a specialized protein called hemoglobin. Each red blood cell contains approximately 270 million hemoglobin molecules, and considering you have around 20 to 30 trillion red blood cells at any given moment, you're essentially carrying a vast fleet of microscopic oxygen couriers inside you right now. Hemoglobin is more than just a carrier, it's a molecular marvel. Made up of 4 protein subunits, each containing an iron-rich heme group, hemoglobin functions like a magnetic latch for oxygen molecules. As red blood cells pass through the alveoli in your lungs, oxygen binds to these heme groups, turning deoxygenated blood from a dark maroon to a vibrant cherry red. This color shift isn't just visually striking, it's a sign that oxygen is successfully being loaded onto its delivery trucks, ready to be transported throughout your body. But hemoglobin isn't just good at picking up oxygen, it's also smart enough to know exactly when and where to release it. Deep within your muscles, brain, and organs, where oxygen levels are lower due to cellular activity, hemoglobin senses changes in acidity, temperature, and carbon dioxide concentration. If a tissue is actively working, like your leg muscles during a run or your brain during intense thought, hemoglobin detects these signals and releases its precious cargo. It's a beautifully orchestrated system, ensuring that oxygen goes precisely where it's needed most. Once delivered, oxygen plays a crucial role in cellular respiration, the process by which your cells generate energy. Without oxygen, your body would struggle to produce enough fuel to sustain basic functions, let alone support complex cognitive tasks or physical exertion. Every heartbeat, every thought, every movement you make relies on this continuous flow of oxygen from your lungs to your cells. Yet, despite its critical role, hemoglobin is surprisingly adaptable. Under certain conditions, such as high altitude or increased physical demand, your body responds by producing more red blood cells, boosting your oxygen-carrying capacity. Athletes training at high altitudes often take advantage of this natural adaptation, allowing them to perform better when returning to sea level. Similarly, people with chronic respiratory conditions may develop compensatory mechanisms to improve oxygen delivery, demonstrating the body's remarkable ability to adjust and optimize its systems. As red blood cells complete their oxygen delivery mission, they return to your lungs, ready to pick up another load. This cycle repeats endlessly, ensuring that every corner of your body receives the oxygen it needs to function. But behind this smooth operation lies an even more astonishing mechanism: your heart, the tireless engine driving this entire process. The heart, the tireless engine behind oxygen circulation. Your heart beats around 100,000 times a day, pushing blood through more than 60,000 miles of blood vessels, enough to wrap around the planet more than twice. This relentless pump ensures that oxygen, once absorbed into your bloodstream, reaches every tissue, organ, and cell in your body. But how exactly does this fist-sized muscle manage such an enormous task without ever stopping? Let's dive into the mechanics of the heart and explore how it orchestrates the continuous flow of oxygen-rich blood. The heart is divided into 4 chambers: the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. Blood returning from your body, now depleted of oxygen and rich in carbon dioxide, enters the right atrium. From there, it flows into the right ventricle, which pumps it to the lungs via the pulmonary artery. This might seem counterintuitive. Why does the right side of the heart send blood to the lungs instead of directly back into circulation? The answer lies in the necessity of replenishing oxygen. In the lungs, carbon dioxide is released, and fresh oxygen is picked up before the blood returns to the heart through the pulmonary veins, entering the left atrium. From there, it moves into the left ventricle, which gives it a powerful final push through the aorta, the body's largest artery, distributing oxygen-rich blood to every corner of your body. What makes this loop so efficient is the heart's ability to regulate its own pace. Specialized cells in the sinoatrial node, often referred to as the heart's natural pacemaker, generate electrical impulses that signal when the heart should contract. These impulses travel through the atria, causing them to contract and push blood into the ventricles. Then, they reach the atrioventricular node, briefly pausing to allow the ventricles to fill completely before triggering their contraction. This coordinated rhythm ensures that blood flows smoothly and efficiently, maintaining a steady supply of oxygen to your tissues. Even more fascinating is how the heart adapts to changing conditions. During exercise, your muscles demand more oxygen, prompting your heart to beat faster and pump more blood. Conversely, when you relax or sleep, your heart rate slows, conserving energy while still meeting your body's reduced oxygen needs. This dynamic response is managed by your autonomic nervous system, which adjusts heart rate based on signals from your brain, hormones, and sensory feedback from your body. But the heart doesn't work alone. It relies on a vast network of arteries, veins, and capillaries to deliver oxygen precisely where it's needed. Arteries carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart under high pressure, thanks to the strong contractions of the left ventricle. Their thick, elastic walls help withstand this force, ensuring that oxygen reaches even the farthest extremities. As arteries branch into smaller arterioles and eventually into capillaries, the pressure decreases, allowing for the delicate exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide at the cellular level. Capillaries, the smallest blood vessels in the body, play a crucial role in this exchange. With walls only 1 cell thick, they provide minimal resistance to the diffusion of oxygen and nutrients into surrounding tissues. Red blood cells must squeeze through these narrow passages in single file, maximizing contact between hemoglobin and the cells waiting for oxygen. Once oxygen is delivered, carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular respiration, diffuses back into the bloodstream, beginning its journey back to the lungs for exhalation. After delivering oxygen, blood returns to the heart through veins. Unlike arteries, veins operate under much lower pressure, relying on one-way valves and muscle contractions to prevent backward flow. This is particularly important in your legs, where blood must travel against gravity to return to the heart. Your skeletal muscles act as secondary pumps, squeezing veins whenever you move and helping propel blood upward. This is why regular physical activity is so beneficial for circulation. It keeps the venous system functioning efficiently, preventing stagnation and ensuring that oxygen-poor blood makes its way back to the heart for reoxygenation. Throughout this entire process, your heart remains tirelessly dedicated to its job. It doesn't take weekends off, doesn't require vacations, and never asks for applause. It simply keeps beating, second after second, minute after minute, year after year. And as you listen to this story unfold, your heart is doing exactly that, pumping oxygen-laden blood to your brain, fueling every thought, every sensation, every quiet realization that you are alive. Neurons, the primary cells of your nervous system, rely heavily on oxygen to generate the energy they need to communicate. Unlike many other cells in your body, neurons don't store large reserves of fuel. They depend on a constant supply of oxygen and glucose to maintain their electrical and chemical signaling. This process, known as oxidative phosphorylation, occurs within mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside each cell. Without sufficient oxygen, neurons struggle to produce adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the molecule that fuels nearly every biological process in your body. Even a brief interruption in oxygen supply can have dramatic consequences. Within seconds of oxygen deprivation, you may lose consciousness. After just a few minutes without oxygen, brain cells begin to suffer irreversible damage. This is why medical emergencies involving the brain, such as strokes or cardiac arrest, are treated with such urgency. Every second counts because every second, neurons are consuming oxygen to keep you thinking, feeling, and existing. But oxygen doesn't just keep your brain running, it enhances its performance. Studies have shown that increased oxygen availability can improve cognitive function, sharpen focus, and even boost creativity. This is why taking a deep breath during moments of stress or mental fatigue can feel so grounding. By increasing oxygen flow to your brain, you're giving your neurons the fuel they need to process information more efficiently. Interestingly, different regions of your brain use oxygen in varying amounts depending on what you're doing. When you read, solve a puzzle, or recall a memory, specific areas light up with activity, drawing in more oxygen-rich blood. This relationship between neural activity and blood flow is the basis for functional MRI scans, which track oxygen consumption to map brain function. Whether you're engaged in complex problem solving or simply daydreaming, oxygen is quietly supporting every thought, every emotion. Oxygen and muscle activity, powering movement. Imagine standing up from your chair, stretching your arms overhead, and deciding to take a short walk. It seems effortless, almost automatic, but beneath the surface, an intricate dance of oxygen-fueled motion is unfolding. Your muscles contract and release in synchronized bursts, your heart rate increases, and your lungs draw in more air, all orchestrated by the steady supply of oxygen flowing through your bloodstream. Muscles, like the brain, are heavy users of oxygen. At rest, your body devotes a modest portion of its oxygen supply to maintaining muscle function, but the moment you start moving, their demand surges dramatically. Even a gentle stroll requires more oxygen than sitting still. Push yourself harder, jogging up a flight of stairs, lifting something heavy, or chasing after a fast-moving pet, and your muscles demand even more. To meet this increased need, your breathing deepens and quickens, drawing in larger volumes of air with each breath. Simultaneously, your heart beats faster, pumping oxygen-rich blood more rapidly to the muscles in action. Inside your muscle cells, oxygen plays a central role in energy production. Mitochondria, the same microscopic power plants found in brain cells, generate ATP through a process called aerobic metabolism. This pathway is highly efficient, converting glucose and oxygen into usable energy while producing relatively clean waste products. During low to moderate intensity activities like walking, cycling, or yoga, your muscles primarily rely on this oxygen-powered system. As long as oxygen supply keeps pace with demand, you can maintain movement comfortably for extended periods. However, when you push beyond your aerobic threshold, say, sprinting to catch a bus or lifting something heavier than expected, your body switches to anaerobic metabolism, a backup system that generates energy without oxygen. While this process delivers immediate results, it comes at a cost. Anaerobic metabolism produces lactic acid as a byproduct, which can accumulate in your muscles, causing that familiar burning sensation and fatigue. It's a clear signal that your muscles are operating in high gear, relying on short-term energy sources rather than the sustained efficiency of oxygen. Despite this temporary reliance on anaerobic pathways, your body quickly recovers once the intensity drops. After strenuous activity, you may find yourself breathing more heavily even after you've stopped moving. This is known as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, EPOC, your body paying back the oxygen debt incurred during intense exertion. During this phase, oxygen helps clear lactic acid, repair microtears in muscle fibers, and restore cellular equilibrium. Regular physical activity enhances your body's ability to manage oxygen efficiently. Over time, endurance training stimulates the growth of new blood vessels in your muscles, increases mitochondrial density, and improves oxygen uptake and utilization. Elite athletes, for example, often have double or even triple the mitochondrial count in their muscle cells compared to sedentary individuals. Their bodies become finely tuned machines, extracting maximum energy from each oxygen molecule. Even your posture and breathing technique influence how effectively oxygen reaches your muscles. Standing tall with relaxed shoulders allows your lungs to expand fully, maximizing oxygen intake. Tension, slouching, or shallow breathing restricts airflow, limiting the amount of oxygen available to your bloodstream. This is one reason why practices like yoga, tai chi, and mindful movement emphasize deep rhythmic breathing. They create optimal conditions for oxygen to flow freely and support muscular function. The next time you stretch, walk, or engage in any form of movement, remember that oxygen is moving with you. It's fueling your muscles, supporting your balance, and enabling every graceful or awkward step you take. Whether you're dancing, hiking, or simply reaching for the TV remote, oxygen is there, silently showing up in every move you make. Oxygen at extreme altitudes, adapting to thin air. Picture yourself climbing a mountain, not metaphorically, but literally, ascending higher and higher into the thinning air. With every step, the atmosphere becomes less forgiving, and your body instinctively reacts. The oxygen molecules you normally inhale with ease are now spaced further apart, like guests at a party who've spread out across the room. Though the percentage of oxygen in the air remains at 21%, the total number of oxygen molecules per breath drops significantly. At sea level, your lungs absorb enough oxygen effortlessly, but above 8,000 feet, about 2.5 kilometers, your body must compensate for the drop in atmospheric pressure. Your initial response is immediate: you breathe faster. Your lungs work harder, drawing in more air to make up for the reduced oxygen content. Your heart races, pumping more blood in the hope of delivering enough oxygen to your tissues. This is why even tying your shoes on a mountaintop can leave you slightly out of breath. Your body is trying its best with limited resources, like a chef attempting to prepare a full-course meal with only a handful of ingredients. But adaptation doesn't stop at breathing harder. Within hours, your kidneys begin adjusting the balance of acids and bases in your blood, making it easier for hemoglobin to bind oxygen. Over the next few days, your body ramps up red blood cell production, stimulated by a hormone called erythropoietin, EPO. This increases your blood's oxygen carrying capacity, like adding more buses to a crowded transit system. Some produce more hemoglobin, others have improved blood flow, and some possess genetic traits that enhance oxygen delivery at the cellular level. Yet, despite these impressive adjustments, the human body still faces challenges at extreme elevations. At altitudes above 26,000 feet, known as the death zone, the oxygen pressure is so low that survival without supplemental oxygen becomes nearly impossible. Even elite climbers must rely on bottled oxygen to prevent severe hypoxia, a condition where tissues receive dangerously low oxygen levels. The brain, particularly sensitive to oxygen deprivation, is among the first organs affected. Cognitive function declines, judgment becomes impaired, and hallucinations can occur. High-altitude adaptation serves as a powerful reminder of the body's resilience and its ability to recalibrate in response to environmental extremes. Whether through genetic inheritance, physiological acclimatization, or technological intervention, humans have found ways to survive, and even thrive, in places where oxygen is scarce. Yet, even in these extreme conditions, the fundamental truth remains unchanged. Oxygen is essential, and your body will go to extraordinary lengths to secure its supply. Oxygen-related medical conditions, when the flow falters. Despite the body's remarkable ability to regulate and adapt to oxygen demands, there are situations where this delicate balance can be disrupted. Various medical conditions interfere with oxygen delivery, utilization, or both, leading to symptoms ranging from mild discomfort to life-threatening emergencies. Understanding these conditions highlights just how vital oxygen is to our survival, and how complex the systems supporting its flow truly are. One of the most common issues affecting oxygen levels is asthma. Imagine your lungs as a vast network of airways branching and narrowing until they end in tiny delicate sacs called alveoli. In someone with asthma, these airways become inflamed and overly sensitive to triggers such as dust, pollen, cold air, or even exercise. When exposed, the muscles around the airways tighten, the lining swells, and mucus production increases, all of which narrows the passageways and makes it harder for air, and by extension oxygen, to flow freely. The result is breathlessness, wheezing, tightness in the chest, and a sensation akin to trying to breathe through a straw. In most cases, asthma is manageable with medications such as bronchodilators and inhaled steroids, which help open the airways and reduce inflammation. However, during a severe asthma attack, oxygen levels in the blood can drop dangerously low, necessitating immediate intervention. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, presents another challenge to oxygen delivery. Primarily affecting smokers and those exposed to significant air pollution, COPD encompasses conditions such as chronic bronchitis and emphysema. In chronic bronchitis, the airways become swollen and produce excessive mucus, while in emphysema, the walls of the alveoli break down, reducing the surface area available for oxygen exchange. The result is inefficient oxygen uptake and lingering carbon dioxide buildup, making everyday activities increasingly exhausting. Over time, the body struggles to compensate, leading to progressive decline in lung function. Anemia introduces a different kind of oxygen-related issue, one that originates not in the lungs but in the blood itself. Specifically, anemia occurs when there aren't enough red blood cells or when the hemoglobin inside them is faulty or deficient, often due to low iron, vitamin B12 deficiency, or chronic disease. Even if the lungs are functioning perfectly and oxygen is being inhaled in abundance, the infrastructure to transport it to tissues is compromised. The result is fatigue, weakness, pale skin, and a sense of breathlessness despite normal breathing patterns. It's akin to hiring 100 waiters for a banquet only to realize you've prepared food for 1,000 guests. The oxygen is there, but the delivery system can't keep up. Vascular diseases pose yet another obstacle to oxygen delivery. Atherosclerosis, for instance, causes arteries to narrow or harden due to plaque buildup, restricting blood flow and consequently, oxygen supply. If a vessel becomes completely blocked, it can trigger a heart attack or stroke, cutting off oxygen to parts of the heart or brain. Stroke, in particular, underscores the urgency of oxygen in brain function. There are two main types: ischemic, caused by a clot blocking a vessel, and hemorrhagic, caused by a ruptured vessel. Either way, brain cells begin to die within minutes without oxygen, reinforcing the medical adage time is brain. In some cases, oxygen may be present, but the body cannot utilize it properly. Carbon monoxide poisoning exemplifies this deadly scenario. Carbon monoxide, an odorless, colorless gas, binds to hemoglobin far more readily than oxygen does, about 200 times more readily in fact. Once it occupies hemoglobin's binding sites, oxygen cannot attach, effectively starving tissues of oxygen even in environments with ample fresh air. Victims often don't realize what's happening until symptoms like headache, dizziness, or confusion set in. Cyanide poisoning takes this a step further. Rather than preventing oxygen from reaching cells, it blocks the cell's ability to use oxygen entirely. The oxygen is present but useless, like handing someone a key to a locked door and then melting the lock. Medical interventions exist to support individuals experiencing oxygen-related crises. Supplemental oxygen therapy, mechanical ventilation, and even extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, ECMO, serve as lifelines in critical care settings, buying time for the body to recover or stabilize. These tools highlight the importance of oxygen in sustaining life, but they also underscore the body's remarkable resilience. With treatment, rest, or lifestyle adjustments, many individuals with oxygen-related conditions can adapt, recover, and thrive. Ultimately, oxygen-related conditions remind us that the body's systems are deeply interconnected. Every breath you take passes through filters, pumps, pipelines, and microscopic engines, all working silently in the background. When one part falters, others attempt to compensate, illustrating the elegance and complexity of the human body. Oxygen is life, yes, but life is also resourceful, finding new pathways, adjusting, and recovering when given the right support. Oxygen in modern medicine, supporting life in critical moments. When oxygen fails to reach the body naturally, whether due to illness, injury, or environmental extremes, modern medicine steps in with an array of interventions designed to support, supplement, or even replace the body's natural oxygen delivery systems. From the simple nasal cannula to the complex machinery of extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, ECMO, these technologies reflect centuries of scientific progress aimed at ensuring oxygen continues to fulfill its life-sustaining role. Supplemental oxygen therapy is one of the most widely used interventions in modern healthcare. You've likely seen someone wearing a nasal cannula, a small, flexible tube that rests beneath the nose, delivering a controlled stream of oxygen. This method is commonly prescribed for individuals with chronic respiratory conditions such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, pneumonia, or even during recovery from illnesses like COVID-19. The goal is straightforward: increase the amount of oxygen in the air a person breathes so their lungs can absorb more with each inhalation. Hospitals also employ face masks or oxygen hoods to deliver higher concentrations when necessary. While ambient air contains about 21% oxygen, supplemental therapy can raise this concentration significantly, sometimes to 60% or more in urgent cases. Patients may even receive nearly pure oxygen for short periods, a strategy that can be life-saving in situations like carbon monoxide poisoning or severe trauma. For cases where oxygen therapy alone isn't sufficient, mechanical ventilation provides a more intensive solution. This technology is employed when a patient's lungs can no longer keep up with the body's oxygen demands, whether due to injury, illness, or complications from surgery. A ventilator gently pushes air into the lungs, either through a mask or a tube inserted into the windpipe, controlling the rate, depth, and sometimes even the composition of each breath. Ensuring that oxygen is delivered and carbon dioxide is removed, mechanical ventilation becomes a lifeline in intensive care units, granting the lungs time to rest and heal while keeping the rest of the body stable. In extreme circumstances, where even ventilation proves insufficient, ECMO emerges as a last resort intervention. ECMO, or extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, functions as an artificial lung, and sometimes an artificial heart, by pumping blood out of the body, oxygenating it externally, and returning it to circulation. Used in cases of severe pneumonia, heart failure, or massive trauma, ECMO offers a temporary pause for failing organs, giving them time to recover. While complex and requiring a highly trained team, ECMO has proven to be a game-changer in critical care, offering hope when traditional methods fall short. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy represents another innovative approach to managing oxygen delivery. In this treatment, patients enter a sealed chamber where the air pressure is elevated beyond normal levels, allowing them to breathe pure oxygen. Under these conditions, oxygen dissolves more readily into the blood plasma, saturating not only red blood cells but also the liquid component of the blood itself. Hyperbaric therapy is employed to treat conditions such as decompression sickness in divers, carbon monoxide poisoning, non-healing wounds, and even certain infections. It demonstrates how manipulating pressure and oxygen concentration can trigger healing in scenarios where the body needs extra support. Recent advancements in portable oxygen concentrators have revolutionized the management of chronic conditions. These compact devices pull in ambient air, remove nitrogen, and deliver a concentrated stream of oxygen, enabling individuals with lung disease to remain mobile and active while receiving the oxygen they need. Meanwhile, researchers are exploring artificial blood substitutes, experimental substances designed to carry oxygen without the need for actual red blood cells. These innovations hold promise for emergency situations where blood transfusions aren't immediately available, such as battlefield injuries or mass casualty events. Monitoring oxygen levels has also become increasingly sophisticated. Pulse oximeters, the small devices that clip onto a finger, offer a quick and painless way to measure blood oxygen saturation. By shining light through the skin and analyzing how much is absorbed by oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, these tools provide real-time insights into a patient's oxygen status. During the height of the pandemic, pulse oximeters became household tools, empowering individuals to track their oxygen levels and detect early signs of distress, even before they felt short of breath. Non-invasive ventilation techniques, such as CPAP and BiPAP machines, have also gained prominence in treating conditions like sleep apnea. By delivering pressurized air through a mask, these devices keep airways open, ensuring a steady supply of oxygen and reducing strain on the heart and lungs. They represent a less invasive alternative to intubation, offering patients the chance to recover while still breathing independently. Together, these therapies and tools illustrate the breadth of modern medicine's efforts to support oxygen's journey through the body. Whether through simple nasal tubes or complex ECMO machines, each intervention reflects a shared goal: to supplement, restore, or enhance the flow of oxygen, ensuring that every breath sustains life. The evolutionary journey of oxygen, from toxic gas to life's essential ingredient. Long before oxygen became the invisible partner in every breath you take, it was a disruptive force on Earth, an unwelcome guest that reshaped the planet and nearly wiped out the life that had thrived in its absence. To understand oxygen's true significance, we must rewind to a time when Earth was a very different place, devoid of the breathable air we now take for granted. Around 3.5 billion years ago, the earliest forms of life emerged, simple, single-celled organisms that thrived in an oxygen-free world. These microbes, known as anaerobes, relied on chemical reactions that didn't require oxygen to generate energy. The atmosphere was rich in methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide, a mixture that would be toxic to most modern life forms. For over a billion years, life flourished in this environment, evolving diverse metabolic strategies to extract energy from the elements around them. Then came a radical shift, one that would alter the course of life forever. Around 2.5 billion years ago, a new type of organism appeared, cyanobacteria. These microscopic pioneers discovered a revolutionary process, photosynthesis. Using sunlight, they converted carbon dioxide and water into sugars, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, this oxygen didn't accumulate in the atmosphere. Instead, it reacted with iron in the oceans, forming layers of rust that settled on the seafloor. But eventually, the planet ran out of places to store this reactive gas. Oxygen began to build up in the atmosphere, marking the beginning of what scientists call the Great Oxidation Event. This transition was not a gentle one. For the anaerobic organisms that had dominated Earth for eons, oxygen was nothing short of a catastrophe. Highly reactive, oxygen damaged cellular structures, disrupting the delicate chemistry of life. Entire microbial communities were wiped out, unable to survive in this new, oxygen-rich world. Some fled into hidden corners of the planet, deep underground, in oxygen-free pockets of the ocean, where they persist to this day. Others adapted, developing protective mechanisms to neutralize oxygen's harmful effects. Over millions of years, life learned to not only tolerate oxygen but to harness its power. The development of aerobic respiration, a process that uses oxygen to extract far more energy from food than anaerobic methods, was a game-changer. Where fermentation yielded just a few molecules of energy per sugar, aerobic respiration produced over 30 times more. This newfound efficiency allowed cells to grow larger, more complex, and eventually band together to form multicellular organisms. The rise of oxygen paved the way for the explosion of biodiversity we see today, from towering forests to intelligent mammals like ourselves. Mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells, are a direct legacy of this evolutionary shift. Scientists believe they were once free-living bacteria that found a mutually beneficial home inside larger cells. Over time, they evolved into permanent residents, handling the job of aerobic respiration and making life as we know it possible. Every complex organism on Earth, including trees, jellyfish, birds, and you, owes its existence to this partnership. Oxygen continued to shape life in unexpected ways. During certain periods in Earth's history, oxygen levels fluctuated dramatically. Around 300 million years ago, during the Carboniferous era, oxygen concentrations reached as high as 35%. This rich oxygen environment allowed insects to grow to enormous sizes, dragonflies with wingspans rivaling seagulls, millipedes as long as a car. Higher oxygen levels also fueled frequent wildfires, shaping ecosystems in ways we can barely imagine today. Even now, oxygen remains a defining force in biology. Astronomers searching for life on distant planets look for traces of oxygen in alien atmospheres, knowing that its presence suggests ongoing biological activity. On Earth, the balance of oxygen is maintained by a complex web of interactions: photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, and ocean currents, all working together in a self-regulating system. Oxygen's journey, from toxic pollutant to life-giving necessity, is a testament to evolution's power to transform threats into opportunities. It reminds us that life is not static, it is constantly adapting, reshaping itself in response to the world around it. So the next time you take a breath, remember, you are participating in a story that spans billions of years, a story written in the very air you inhale. Oxygen beyond Earth, the search for life in the cosmos. As we trace oxygen's journey through the human body, its origins in ancient stars, and its pivotal role in shaping life on Earth, a compelling question arises: could oxygen be a signature of life beyond our planet? In the vast expanse of the universe, astronomers and astrobiologists are searching for signs of extraterrestrial life, and oxygen stands out as one of the most promising indicators. While its presence alone isn't definitive proof of life, it is a strong clue, one that has guided missions to Mars, Venus, and even exoplanets orbiting distant stars, Earth. Oxygen exists in a delicate balance, sustained by the continuous interplay of photosynthesis and respiration. Plants, algae, and cyanobacteria produce oxygen, while animals and microbes consume it. Without life continuously replenishing it, oxygen wouldn't linger in the atmosphere for long. It reacts with other elements, forming compounds that settle into rocks, oceans, and planetary crusts. This means that if we detect oxygen in the atmosphere of an exoplanet, it could suggest the presence of life actively generating it. NASA and other space agencies have prioritized the search for oxygen and related gases in their exploration of other worlds. The James Webb Space Telescope, launched in 2021, is equipped with instruments capable of analyzing the atmospheres of distant planets, looking for biosignatures, chemical fingerprints that hint at biological activity. Oxygen, along with methane and ozone, is among the most sought-after markers. Methane, for example, breaks down quickly in the presence of oxygen unless it is continuously replenished, suggesting a potential biological source. Closer to home, Mars has been a focal point of the search for past or present life. While the Martian atmosphere is predominantly composed of carbon dioxide, trace amounts of oxygen have been detected, far less than Earth's atmosphere, but intriguing nonetheless. NASA's Perseverance rover carries an experiment called MOXIE, Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, which successfully demonstrated the ability to extract oxygen from the thin Martian air. This technology could be crucial for future human missions, providing breathable air and rocket fuel. More importantly, understanding how oxygen behaves on Mars informs our broader search for habitable worlds elsewhere. Beyond our solar system, scientists are studying exoplanets, planets orbiting distant stars, for signs of oxygen-rich atmospheres. One of the most promising candidates is Proxima Centauri b, an Earth-sized planet orbiting the closest star to our Sun. Researchers are investigating whether its atmosphere could contain oxygen, though challenges such as stellar radiation and atmospheric erosion complicate the picture. Other potentially habitable exoplanets, such as those in the TRAPPIST-1 system, are also under scrutiny, with future missions planned to probe their atmospheres for biosignatures. Even if oxygen is detected on an alien world, interpretation remains complex. Abiotic processes, non-biological mechanisms, can also generate oxygen. Volcanic activity, ultraviolet radiation breaking down water vapor, and chemical reactions on planetary surfaces can all contribute to atmospheric oxygen. Distinguishing between biological and geological sources requires careful analysis, combining data on atmospheric composition, planetary conditions, and historical context. Still, the search for oxygen beyond Earth continues, driven by the tantalizing possibility that life might not be unique to our planet. Just as oxygen shaped the course of life on Earth, it may serve as a beacon guiding us toward other worlds where life has taken root. Whether we find microbial organisms in the icy oceans of Europa, photosynthetic life on a distant exoplanet, or even civilizations breathing in alien skies, oxygen remains a key piece of the puzzle in humanity's quest to understand our place in the cosmos. The quiet symphony of breath, finding peace in every inhale and exhale. Take a moment to notice your breath. Not just the act of breathing, but the rhythm, the depth, the the subtle variations in how air moves in and out of your body. It's easy to overlook something so automatic, so essential, yet every breath you take is part of an intricate, lifelong symphony, one that connects you to the stars, to the earth, to every living thing that has ever drawn air into its lungs. There is something profoundly calming about watching oxygen at work. It doesn't demand attention, doesn't ask for recognition. It simply arrives with every inhale, fuels your thoughts, powers your movements, and departs with every exhale, leaving behind only the faintest trace of carbon dioxide. It is both invisible and indispensable, a quiet companion that has been with you since the moment you were born. Perhaps that's why mindfulness practices center so much around breath. Breathing is one of the few bodily functions that operates automatically, yet can also be consciously controlled. When you slow your breath, lengthen your exhales, soften the tension in your shoulders, your body listens. Your heart rate steadies, your muscles relax, and your mind finds a moment of stillness. It's not magic, it's physiology. A deep breath doesn't just calm you emotionally, it calms you biologically, reminding your nervous system that you are safe, that you are present, that you are alive. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed, anxious, or lost in thought, try this: close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your breath. Notice how the air feels as it enters your nostrils, how your chest rises, how your abdomen expands. Don't force it, just observe. Let your breath settle into its own rhythm, neither too fast nor too slow, neither too deep nor too shallow. With each inhale, imagine oxygen flowing into your body, nourishing every cell, every thought, every quiet moment of being. With each exhale, imagine letting go of whatever no longer serves you, tension, worry, distraction. You don't need to chase peace, it's already here, woven into the very act of breathing. And as you lie there, listening to the soft rhythm of your breath, know that oxygen is still working, quietly, gently, faithfully, keeping you alive, one breath at a time.